Hey everyone, I'm Sally Hayes from Matrikas, and I am so excited that I'm here today with Chelsea and Mike from Postpartum Together. Hey y'all, how's it going?
Hi,
Hey,
Sally. Good to
Sally.
see you.
Good to see you too. I'm so excited to dive in and talk to you and let everybody know about what you do. I think you both are so unique that you've brought both of your unique qualities together to create this Postpartum Together. So tell us a little bit about how you got started, what you do, and why you're so passionate about this.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can I start from the
Oh,
beginning?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Origin
Postpartum
story.
Together was it came out of a void, honestly, of being new parents and feeling alone. Um, and realizing that there was not a lot of community and validation. And it was in the time where social media was really taking a faster and faster pace for people. So there's so many places to compare yourself and to feel like you're not doing good enough. And there weren't many places to validate your experience, to normalize that with other people, and to kind of talk about what do you actually want. So I actually LLC'd Postpartum Together in January of 2020. And then, as we all know, the world took much different turns for a lot of us, including us. But those first couple of years, I was running small groups just with women. And I developed a 12-week curriculum to get into the taboo, the less spoken parts. And what I realized is once out of those 12 weeks, I would invite partners on. And that week was consistently my favorite week. And it was the week where I thought, oh, like these gaps are getting filled in. I'm seeing like this isn't going to be fixed if their partner is still in this place. So I really got this inkling for the relationship and started to dive into, researching that, looking into that, and integrating that more. So it has evolved a ton over 6 years to the place where operation now is mostly supporting couples before and after baby, and even up to about 5 years old. But that really formative transformation in a family's life where two people have a different idea of what's normal, or they grew up in different households, or they're using the same word, but it has a different meaning. And so it's a, it, it's, an experience for sure to go through this work with us, but it's really like peeling back the layers, and we get to play detective and have this opportunity to be like, oh my gosh, sometimes it's he said, she said, and this isn't in opposition. It's actually just like he said this in one language and she said this in another language, and we get to help you put that together and figure out how you move forward through a big transition, like adding a baby to your family. And then Mike joined in earlier this year, which was always the goal for us to run this together. It just feels important that it's a relationship business that comes from a relationship space, not because we're perfect, not because we are doing this perfectly, um, but because we're willing to validate the experience and to share the tools that we have learned over the
Yeah.
last 10 years to provide that to others.
Yeah. And really into those spaces that are difficult, right? And they're they're not spaces that usually people, you want to go into and sort through things.
Like your intimacy life, how long's it been since you've been intimate after baby? What does it mean to warm up and feel good and cozy and safe around your partner again?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I just joined this year, but like Chelsea said, it's been a long time coming. And what I noticed is that consistently when she was working with couples, there was really not a whole lot for dad, right? Like
They're still
dad,
not.
Yeah.
yes, right, yes. And so like a lot of times, the dad was kind of like bumbling through and saying, I want, I do want to help more. I want to step in more. I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm not really doing what is needed. And mom is so buried. I mean, she's drowning in postpartum under everything, and she doesn't have the time to coach him, to sometimes she feels like she would be mothering him, which is like that definitely kills intimacy.
Sexy.
And so like I was like the like dads need some help, right?
Yeah.
Like and so I think it was really born out of the idea of like what did I need when we first entered that postpartum season? And then how do we provide that going forward to dads?
Right.
I agree with you. I was a prenatal massage therapist for 26 years, and towards the end of the pregnancy, I would always ask for the partner to come in.
Mhm.
And something that I saw, I used to do mobile massage and I went into homes and I would do postpartum massage in home and I would see people and be like, that's a divorce. Like it's just, there's no
Yeah.
solving this.
Yeah.
But I would bring the partner in, and a lot of it was that the dad did not know what to do. So
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
wanted to bring them in, empower them a little bit, show them some techniques. You can do this in the labor room, you can support in this way. I think dads have been largely left out of the conversation. So then they are ill-equipped
Yeah.
and maybe well-meaning, maybe not, but maybe well-meaning and ill-equipped. And I think it's important that you're bringing this to the conversation so that you can have a well-rounded relationship, because if one person goes to therapy in a relationship and the other person doesn't,
Yeah.
one person's going to outgrow the other, right? If you're not,
Right.
if it's a problem between the two. So I love that you're
Yeah.
doing this. I love that you're advocating for dads. Tell me a little bit more about any of the specific work that you're doing with dads. I know you just launched a dads group
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. Well, I think you said it best, ill-equipped. And there is this phenomenon right now with this generation of parents, and it's that like there's so much to think about. There's so much more required of parents today than it seems like it where it was in previous generations. And men dads haven't seen this modeled, right? They didn't grow up seeing modeled what this moment is asking of them now. And so without a model, I mean, that's a huge gap right
Mhm.
there. Um, and then I think the other piece, really is there are pain points in the relationship, right? So like there are some real practical things we can do. We can break down the invisible load and figure out how to divide that more fairly. Things that have typically fallen on mom because of whatever traditions or cultural norms or biological forces, sometimes mom ends up carrying more than a person should. And dads want to step in by and large for the most part. They want to shoulder more. But it's like there's that chasm, that gap of how do I get from here to there? I don't know enough to really do this well. When I ask my wife, she gets mad at me because she says she can't manage me too, right? And so guys are like, I'll do anything, just tell me what to do. Like they're frustrated in that they want to help more and cannot. So that's one big piece that we do focus on in the dad groups. And the other one is this is something most people maybe wouldn't think of, but in a stress situation, most dads find themselves over in like in hyperdrive where it's kind of like that fight or flight. They snap at their partner, less patient. And the other side of that is like a shutdown. And these are nervous system states. And the dad that feels shut down, and both of them are overwhelmed, right? Um, so the hyperdrive or the shutdown is like he's there, but he's not really there, right? More of a robot, maybe on his phone scrolling, whatever it is, doesn't know how to like really step into the room and be there with his family the way that they need. And so this piece is something that we address in the dads group, and it is based around some research that shows that the one thing dads can do that moves the needle the most for their families is when they can show up steady for their families. I use steady to encapsulate, kind of a few things here. But when they're able to step in and be present, to be emotionally present and emotionally safe, to be that calm, sort of anchored, grounded presence, that changes everything. Like babies' brains develop better, like mom has a significantly less likelihood of postpartum depression, and the list goes on and on and on. And it's amazing, like dads showing up that way definitely wasn't modeled, right? But we do know from like human history that that is a capacity that dads often step into, like in indigenous cultures, in cultures that maybe haven't been in through an industrial revolution, right? So this is biologically based, and it's about getting back to sort of dad's natural place in a family.
I love that you talk about being steady and that these are actual states of our nervous system because it almost sounds like I'm sure you're seeing people that are in the throes of, already there, frustrated. You've seen a lot of those people and you're working to get ahead of that, but also give them a neutrality in the
Yeah.
language that
Mhm.
you use. And I think that's been a barrier for a lot of people to go to therapy because it sounds like a therapist is going to judge me. I've been to lots of therapy. It's my favorite thing. It's hard. You're going to have to do internal work, but it sounds like I know you're both not therapists, so it sounds like you're kind of like the awesome best friends that are really have been through this and like the older brother and sister that are really like helping, giving tools, but it is grounded in science.
Right.
So
Yeah.
can you tell us something like maybe a little interesting, something that's come up, like a specific issue that you deal with that you see with a lot of people and how you would deal with that?
Do you have one, or should I do piece and piece?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
share that. That's
Okay.
great.
I love this example. It's a couple we were working with before they had their baby, which is kind of my favorite thing is I will hold you and comfort you in the throes of postpartum. And if we can help you do some proactive work to have that shared language and understanding and priorities, the goal is never that you'll never argue, but that you'll
Right.
have intentionality and resolution in your communication and in your interaction. So,
And manage
to
your
give you that example,
expectations. And yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. Like, there's no perfection here, but it's like, let's get rid of the unnecessary energy that goes to misunderstandings and
Yes.
not having shared language and different expectations. So, a couple we were working with, I was doing a value assessment with them because in this particular model, we do a couple different models of coaching, but in this model I was working with, I worked with them separately and then together every 3 weeks. So we're like doing the separate work and then bridging it together every 3 weeks. And we were working on values, and it was so interesting because they both listed peace as a top value in their life. Okay, so we get into this a little bit more, and she was explaining this to me as like, my inner peace matters most. If I go to my in-laws and they are saying something that really upsets me, I'm going to say my mind because my core, my inner peace is my top priority. When I was speaking to him, the external piece around him was the top priority. I'm not going to ruffle feathers. I'm not going to make people upset. I'm going to keep the peace. So, as you could see, if we had stopped in this place and been like, awesome, thumbs up, you both value peace, that's a much different interpretation. And there's room to hold and respect both of those, but they really needed to know at a core level what that meant. And they had never had an opportunity or a need to explore that. And that was just,
Yeah.
one indicator of the way that we use language or feelings or expectations differently. And if you want to do life with a partner, and you want to stay with that partner, like you're going to have to keep, I call it updating your operating system, right? Like your
Yes.
phone, things change and it's a pain in the ass, but you have to update the operating system and get new language and new patterns. And the same thing has to be true in your relationship. You have to update the operating system of the stories you're telling yourself about that person or the expectations or the things that are happening. You just got to keep maintaining it.
I
Yeah.
think people are really struggling with this idea of this perceived uncomfortability or this short-term uncomfortability in order to get to something better. And
Sure.
they
Oh
get
yeah.
stuck with the uncomfortable piece. And Listen, I talk to myself all the time and I'm like, okay, this sounds like something that I don't want to do, but
Yeah.
if it gets you to utopia, would you do it? And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people stop short because it's like, oh, it's going to be uncomfortable. But exactly the example that you provided, that makes so much sense. Why would you think that you're going to partner and then form a family? But
Yes.
you're going to stay the same. The point
Hopefully
is not to stay
not.
the same.
Right.
Yeah.
The point is to transform and evolve and
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. But that's also a new concept too. I think like previous generations kind of like this is the person I am. These are the principles I live by. It was this idea of like a kind of like a static self. And it's just not true. Like so many things change and change us from our own body chemistry to relationships. Like we are
Mhm.
constantly changing and adapting to like the new environments we find ourselves in. And it is important, like updating that operating system. Like if you don't update it, that's how people drift apart, right? Like I don't know you anymore. Who are you? And it's like, but on the other side, when you do update, I love that you said this the other day. It was like if you are updating and growing with someone, it is like you are married to like 50 different people because you're accepting and making room for your partner to grow and change all the time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's respectful partnership is continuing to make space for each of you to grow and change and respectfully taking time and intentionality to know how you do that in the constraints of the relationship that you have committed to, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. So how do you work with people? Do you work one-on-one? Do you work in group settings? Is it in person? Is it virtual? Is it all of it?
A little bit of all of the above.
Yeah.
Um, we are virtual. I mean, we started our business on the heels of right in the midst of COVID, actually. And so I actually fell in love with doing virtual sessions because I think for me, getting out to a session as a new mom or even pregnant, you got a lot of things going on. It wasn't always accessible. And so the accessibility of this, I love when there's like the baby wakes up and they're in their parents' arms and we're finishing a session. Like that is just the cozy for us. Do you want to explain a little bit about like groups, 6 week and deep dive?
Sure.
We have kind of three models that we
Yeah.
work with people.
Yeah. So the couples is a 6 week, whether before or after baby. Obviously, we prefer before, but usually until the pain kicks in, it's not really obvious.
Yeah, more referrals after.
Um, and then I think then we have both a dad's group and a mom's group. So maybe the couple isn't trying to do something, but maybe dad, it's like, hey, dad really wants to level up and really, get equipped for this next season. So the dads group is it's just dads or whoever mom's partner is. It's the person that is not carrying the baby, right? And they're the one that would have the most capacity, flexibility to really make any sort of change, within the relationship wherever the needs fall. So getting dads together is in itself amazing, right? Because men are not connected in that sort of way anymore. There's no sort of sense of like brotherhood or like dads helping dads. It needs to be there, right? That's a very natural thing that has been a part, again, of our human history. But for whatever reason, that has sort of phased out, and there's been this isolation, and dads are in a silo everywhere, feeling like they're failing, not really having any encouragement or connection with anybody. And so the dads group, first off, is that dads actually get to see other dads in the same season of life and see that they're not lost, right? Well, they're not more lost than
Right.
anyone else. So, and I think, that space alone is great. And then,
And I think we love groups for the group learning, the
yeah,
normalization, the kind of exhale of I'm not alone. Groups can be really, really cool for that.
yeah.
Like,
And learning is the other piece, right? Like the way people learn in groups, it usually
mm,
lands a lot deeper. especially if there's like activities they can participate in, like, hey, let's
Yeah.
practice this breathing technique to
Yeah.
calm down our.
Yeah, so groups are definitely like a group learning space and normalization. But we work with really sensitive topics. So one-on-one or two-on-two is a really valuable model. So we also do, we have a 6 week before baby or a 6 week after baby where the two of us are working with the two people in the couple. Obviously, we are in a heteronormative relationship. However, we see couples and families that come in many different shapes, sizes, orientations, all of that. And really, the important thing is that we're building teamwork and partnership amongst those people. So our 6 week is like it's learning, but it's more personalized. You know, we might be saying for example, one thing we help people identify is like their micro connections. What are the really tiny 5 to 10 minute things that mean a lot to you? You know, your husband might go through the kitchen and slap your booty while you're doing dishes, and he might think that that is just like, hey, babe, I see you. But maybe that doesn't feel good to you right now. You know, like things that worked don't work now, and we need to make space to figure that out. So we have that learning in a more individualized space, doing that two-on-two. And for those who want their individual work along with the group work, we have a deeper dive model where partner A is week 1, partner B is week 2, and the both of them together are week 3. And so they're both getting the same topics, the same kind of questions and guided conversation. And then every 3 weeks, we are putting that together and helping them to be on the same page and on the same team about those things with shared language and understanding. And even, you know, making space for them to say out loud or have the conversations that have potentially felt like too much or too scary on their own at 9 p.m. after the baby goes to bed and they're both exhausted.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
So
love
those
that
are,
you talk about that, like the micro connections. And I love that you talk, I always say amplify the good. Let's start where the good is, amplify the good and work from there. I think we often want to dig into problems and
oh
unearth
yeah,
all this stuff, but you have to have safety and security before you can ever work on a problem, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
amplifying all of that connection and good work, to start getting there. And I love that you're giving people space. One week you work with somebody, one week you work with the next partner, and then you come back together. I I think space is something that's not celebrated enough. The space to
Mm-hmm.
process, the space to think. A lot of things are moving fast these days, and we're supposed to get into this fast, 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 reaction time. And really, I always say, I'm going to sleep on it. I sleep on everything, and really, I'm just looking for space and time to
Yeah,
process
yeah,
all possibilities within that. So,
yeah. And something I will add in there, something that I think is really valuable and we have heard is valuable, is that we come from a life coaching perspective. We have some opportunities that might not be true in other traditional pathways where we have an app that is voice memos or text that we just use with clients. And so let's say we meet on a Thursday and then on Saturday something comes up. That isn't to say I'm going to be right there right away in the moment, but within 24 business hours, we're going to be able to help that person be like, well, can we ask this question? Or what was going on here? Or give them a sounding board, an external processing board, and some guiding questions so that they don't have to wait until Thursday and come back and rehash something that kind of got half taken care of, but now it feels raw again.
Yeah.
I love that. I
That's
love
maybe
that.
my favorite is the things, we do the prep work in our session and then we do some real time coaching and support when it's needed. And that is a value I really love offering our clients.
That's amazing. Can you each give us one tip or trick that you have for expecting parents that are kind of interested in something like this? Give us just like one little pot of gold each.
Okay.
Do you have a pot of gold yet?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of the dads groups focuses on like low lift tools that have a big impact. Um, and one of the best things that can be done is like in those transition spaces. So maybe dad has been at work all day and he's coming home. Before he comes in the house, like let some of the stuff fall off his shoulders that is related to work that he doesn't need to carry in to the house. And so the best way, one of the best ways to do that is it's so easy. Like whether it's the door or the car door, the house door or the car door, before you open it and go through, right? You take a deep breath in, and when you exhale, just let it be a long, slow exhale and release your shoulders and release your jaw muscles. That sends us like a bio signal to your body that it's okay to be okay. Brings you back to baseline super fast. And it allows you to walk in with more presence and more capacity to love and connect with your family.
So good. Like just
That's
that
beautiful.
mini routine. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I would add in there curiosity. Be your own best detective and be a detective of your partner. We tell ourselves a lot of stories. Our brain fills in a lot of gaps. And when we operate from those, which we are all capable and guilty of doing, uh, we get ourselves in again. It's like we just don't have the energy to waste on misunderstandings and stories in our head. So, get curious. Does that mean you're not going to disagree with your partner? No, but that means like, let's deal with the real shit. Let's make sure we understand what is real and then we utilize our tools to work on that. So pause and get curious before you launch into your reaction or your judgment. And that's even of yourself. Why? Oh, I notice I'm
Especially
feeling
yourself.
this way, or I just snapped at my partner. What happened before that? And then what happened before that? And how do I get to know my own body and signals and then how I interact and engage with my partner? So slow, I guess both of these are slowing down, which is hard to do in a busy season, but it's those microseconds. It's 1 second sometimes that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it really is. And this isn't something you just automatically change. These are things that like it incrementally every day as they're practiced, there's an accumulative effect, right? And so a lot of it is really just giving yourself little reminders and cues to do those things at those times and moments.
Yeah, building habits, right? Building better habits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you both. This has been amazing. Tell everybody where they can find you and how they can start working with you.
Yeah, well, we list our current offerings in the menu of our website, so postpartumtogether.com. And for those who hang out on social, we're pretty active at Postpartum Together. And Steady Dads just launched off with its own Instagram too. So, a space for a little bit more male centric type of content around the same thing.
Amazing. Thank you both for your time. Always wonderful hanging out with y'all and talking to y'all. And thanks for those tips. We're definitely going to be utilizing those for sure.
Thanks, Sally. Thanks for creating this space.
Yep.
Love it.